Bob Gerald, and in this video we are going to take a glimpse inside the workshop Getting Ahead in a Just-Gettin By World. This is based on the work of Philip E. DeVol and his book Getting Ahead in a Just-Gettin By World, copyrighted by DeVol & Associates, LLC, and published by AHA Process. The video itself is copyrighted by Bob Gerald & Associates and was done in cooperation with the Bridges to Circles program in 2010 in Pensacola, Florida. Getting Ahead is based on the idea of co-investigation. The participants and the facilitators work together investigating the causes and impact that poverty has on individuals and the community at large. Everyone learns from each other. Getting Ahead is conducted in a neutral and safe environment so people can explore the root issues of poverty without judgment and evaluation. The place to begin is to explain the mental model that is represented in this triangle. In the lower left-hand side, we're talking about understanding poverty, what it's like now and what are the causes of poverty. And we'll take a look at that in some of the modules that we're discussing. The middle triangle is the core, Ruby Payne's framework using the hidden rules of class. And once we understand the hidden rules of class, we can use them to rebuild our personal resources. Over on the lower right-hand side, the triangle addresses understanding where you are personally, monitoring changes, doing a self-assessment, and also doing a community assessment. Up here in the middle, we talk about power, personal power. What's the theory of change? How do you build resources? What it means to you? We take a critical analysis of that and look at what it's going to take in order to create change. Up on the top part of the triangle, we're talking about responsibility, personal responsibility. We create plans, action steps, and a future story of what we want our lives to be. Here at Sacred Heart is where we conduct the Getting Ahead in a Just-Gettin By World class. It's 15 weeks long. People have to be committed and willing to come to all 15 weeks. In the course of the 15 weeks, we teach them many concepts about things they need to learn in order to empower themselves to step out of poverty.
In our Getting Ahead class, we begin to get to know each other. We try to establish the ground rules, and we make sure that everybody knows that as we're sitting around the table, we're all the same. We, the facilitators, learn from the people who are in the class, and the class people learn from the facilitators. We are researching together. We work together to try to find out about this thing called poverty. As we sit around this table in Module 1, that we're all people. We're all the same. We may come from different backgrounds, different economic backgrounds, different ethnic backgrounds, but when we're at this table in this room, we are equal. Module 2 in the Getting Ahead program is what it's like now. In this module, we try to get the people in the class to reflect on what their life is like now. And we have them look at their ratio of their wage to what they pay in housing and the other obligations that they have, and this is so enlightening for them. We have to reflect on what is it that I'm doing in my life now? What does life look like for me now? We draw a big circle.
A full sheet of paper to create a mental model. Draw a small circle inside a larger circle. The center of the circle represents you. Number 2, thinking of the circle as a pie. Draw 8 pieces of pie and write the following labels around the outside of the larger circle: household, other family, friends, work, school, club, and organization, religious, spiritual group, and formal institution agencies.
And we see what it is that we're doing now and how we're governed by the tyranny of the moment, and how sometimes in our lives we are so busy trying to put out the fires that we don't have time to reflect and try to look at the bigger picture.
In this module, the group looks at 2 mental models. The first is called the mental model of poverty, created by the whole group collaboratively, addressing the local issues of poverty. The second mental model is entitled My Life Now, and is created individually about that particular person's day-to-day experience.
Module 3 is Theory of Change. In this module, we really want to reflect on, from the idea of the chaotic tyranny of the moment, to bringing our people to see that we want to look at the big picture.
Some people hate change. They never want to change. They don't want things to change, and they don't want others to change. But even those who hate change, change. Other folks are good at changing. They do it smoothly. And then there's everyone in between.
So this is the module where we think about what is the theory of change? What does it take to get us from the tyranny of the moment to an outside place so that we can reflect on the bigger picture?
There are some things about living in poverty that make it harder to make changes. The more resources a person has, the easier it is for him or her to change. In other words, the fewer resources a person has, the harder it is to change.
In this module, we discuss the theory of change in much more depth. What does it take for an individual to actually change their lives, and what are some of the barriers that stand in their way? In a later module, we're going to talk about the stages of change and how you can actually maneuver through those stages in order to create changes in your life, even though those changes may be difficult to do.
In Module 4, we talk about the rich-poor gap.
This rich-poor gap addresses the causes of poverty and some of the large systemic reasons why it's so difficult for an individual or a class to get out of poverty.
We play a number of games where we really make it very evident, this idea that the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer, and we see that in our newspapers. But when we play these games, we can see that actually we can bring these concepts to the concrete. How many you get? All right.
First 7.
You got a big now, 71% of the people in 1998 owned 30% of the wealth. That's what that looks like. The top 10% owned 70%. The top 1% has 40% of the wealth. This was in 1998. What do you think the trend is?
60 now.
The gap is getting wider and wider. Those people who are in the middle class, what's happening to them?
Poor.
And then we talk about what part we might play in closing this gap, and that gets us into a lot of discussion about empowerment. How if we put all of our voices together, we can have something positive to say, and we can make positive changes. But this is a very powerful module, this Module 4. Module 5 is called the Hidden Rules, and this is really the heart of the Getting Ahead program. This brings the concepts that we learn in Bridges Out of Poverty, the Ruby Payne work, into our Getting Ahead class, full force. We look at the hidden rules of each of our economic classes, and we realize that it's not just distinct lines, but there's a continuum.
We're learning about the different classes, hidden rules of an economic class, and that is truly interesting. Well, when I read it, I really didn't understand, and now that I've looked at it, there are different rules for each class. The poor have a certain rule that they follow. The middle class have rules that they follow. The people that are the rich people, they have their own set of rules.
Let's take a look at some of these hidden rules. In this case, as applies to education. In the poverty class, education may or may not be valued and revered, but it's much more an abstract concept than it is reality. People's dreams are beaten down very quickly when you're not in a school system that supports real education, and perhaps even with parents that can't help you along, parents that may be illiterate, parents that can't support you through your educational goal. At the middle class level, it's understood that it's crucial for climbing the success ladder and making money. Education is revered at a much different level. Conversations about what college you're going to go to occur in middle class families that don't occur in the poverty class families. In wealth, it's more of a necessary tradition for making and maintaining connections. To go to the right schools with the right people is sometimes more revered than actually getting an education. Language is a very important part of the hidden rules. In the poverty class, mostly it's a casual register. It's street slang, it's language. It's about survival. It's about how to get yourself in and out of situations. In the middle class, you have access to the formal register, the register that you would take to a job interview or to a meeting, rather than the one that you might use with your family or you might use in the street. It's much more of a tool, much more to be used at a very, very different level. At the wealth class, the formal register for language is about networking. It's about how to meet the right people at the right time, what to say, what to do, and how to use those connections.
Which I didn't know, you know, but you don't know until you actually get into this class. And that's very enlightening. So you know that there are places that there are rules.
In Module 6, we take a look at the 11 resources. Too often people think poverty is just about the financial issue, when in fact it's much deeper and more complicated than that. Now, we'll take a look at these 11 resources much deeper in a later module, but let's just list them for now so you have an idea. It's financial, emotional, mental, use of language, do you have social support, physical and health, spiritual, integrity and trust, motivation and persistence, relationships and role models, and the last one is knowledge of hidden rules.
We look at these 11 resources and we define poverty in relation to these resources. We sometimes think that poverty relates only to the financial situation of our group and of our families, of our individuals, but we learn from this module that each resource has a powerful effect on all of the others.
In this module, we also talk about social capital. Bonding capital being that capital that is most close to you and the people you can rely on the most. Bridging capital being extending yourself beyond your current circle and being able to network with people that are on the periphery of your life. The exercise that we do is we create a circle and an inner circle with 8 compartments to it. We write friends, work, religious, spiritual, schools, clubs, agencies, household, and other family. And then we put the initials of the people that we consider to be bonding capital, those that we hold closest, in the inner circle, and initials of those people that we consider to be bridging capital in the outer circle. It shows us where our social connections are.
I think that bonding and bridging capital, that we realize that together there is so much that we can accomplish, that I don't have to do it all by myself. I don't have to have all the answers all by myself, that I've got some people that I can go to for information, get help, get assistance, get guidance, get education even. And when you pull all of your resources together, you realize, I thought I only had this, and this, and you find out you have really much more than that.
To take the utensils that I've learned and work with it and work through it, whatever situations that I may be going through. You know, it gives me some sense of hope and, you know, to encourage me to continue to keep going, not to give up.
Really, and you know, this is like a little family too. So, and everybody's helping everybody, and that's good.
I work for the state now going on 26 years. And we see repeat families, you know, from younger to now they are our actual clients with babies. But if you see them come through this, you know one day they're not going to keep that cycle going. Somebody's going to step up and educate themselves and move on and break it. And I think this is a really, really good program, and it should be everywhere. It really should be a bigger program, a bigger push to keep these programs like it's alive. Yep.